Hello and welcome to the CDO Magazine interview series. I'm Maria Espona with ArgIQ, and today I have the pleasure of talking with Federico Hirtz, the General Director at NotCo Mexico. Federico is an 18-year career on top global consumer goods companies in Latin America in different leadership roles at NotCo, PepsiCo, and also Procter & Gamble. Since 2022, he's leading the startup at NotCo Mexico as director. He held general management roles also at PepsiCo in the South Cone, Uruguay and Paraguay cluster, and as a sales director both at PepsiCo and Procter & Gamble. He also worked as a fellow teacher at the Buenos Aires University. We share that. And the Economic Environment Development of Fundación Pensar. That is a really important think tank in Argentina. So thank you and welcome, Federico.
Yeah, thank you. Hello, and thanks for such an introduction. Thank you.
So the first question is, how do you describe the profile of a data analytics leader?
It's a very curious person at first. In our case, it's a person that has both a very high standard for delivering, a very deep knowledge, technical knowledge. That's really important. But at the end of the day, there are many roles that can have both of that I just mentioned. But in our case, we are building something that is really new. It is new to the world, and the profiles that we look for are people that is brave, and it also has a very enthusiastic purpose for change the status quo. If you combine all of that, and you also combine that with the ambition of working in a startup where uncertainty is our common ground, then you have the typical data analytics profile that we look for in the market. And as I mentioned before, it's not that easy to get that kind of profiles because there are many ingredients, but that's what we look for.
That's fantastic. But you mentioned several ingredients to this cake, but it's a recipe.
It's a food tech. So we talk about recipes, and then you have the meal there.
So some of the ingredients you can learn in the university, or it is something that is related to the personality of the people?
Well, many of them can be learned at the university, especially the technical ones. Universities play a very important role there. But also some of the ingredients are usually learned in different contexts. When you have different experiences, when you have different bosses or people that you work for, all of those can help you to really add more ingredients to the recipe of being a successful data analytics leader. Because at the end, and it's not least important, I mentioned data analytics leader, because leadership is a very important factor when you want to succeed in an organization, as a startup, as NotCo, or even though as a big corpo, as the ones that I worked before, such as Procter & Gamble or PepsiCo. So leadership, it's also about that.
I'm glad that you mentioned that you can learn leadership not only in the university, but also by working with other people and follow the example. I think it's a great aspect to take into consideration. In my experience, is the best way of learning, because you can have all the books, but if you have someone that leads in a great way, you know better how to do it.
Yeah, on-the-job coaching, I think is the biggest value added that you can get when you join a company. So you always need to really look who's gonna be your boss, and who's gonna be the five people that you're going to meet more often in your work, because you're going to absorb all their knowledge, all the way of thinking, the risk takers, the more cautious people. Because when you get out of the university, you have a bag with a lot of technical knowledge, but the leadership knowledge is better understood when you need to face challenges, when you need to face politics, when you need to
Mhm.
face lack of resources, and you need to face the reality. And that's the usually when you have the biggest learnings, the teachable moments that maybe we call it here. And that brings the experience at the end of the day.
Yeah, absolutely. It's like putting the theory to work, not having only case studies that you say, "Oh, this guy did this in these circumstances," but not in the real world. That in some cases it's a huge distance.
We always say that PowerPoint supports everything. Excel and data analytics database also supports everything. But then you need to face the consumer, the customer, the macroeconomics, the funding, the cash flow. I mean, but I think, in my point of view, that the technical knowledge is like the base. You need to
Yeah.
have that. That you cannot avoid having that. Technical knowledge is a must, and then the rest is a nice to have that can put you ahead or in the same line of the rest of the people.
Yeah. Super true. I totally agree with you. Uh, when you hire employees, you mentioned some skills that the ingredients to this recipe. Where do you find your employees? How you attract them?
Well, we try to look people on the companies that we really admire. That's our
Oh,
first target, to be honest.
mhm.
And it's a combination of universities and companies that we really admire. And then that's the first ingredient of our recipe. The second one is about the experiences that these persons already had in the past career, or maybe they don't have experiences in the working world, but maybe they did have experiences traveling or working for some organizations. And the third ingredient, it's about their values, what they think is important for them, what they aim to do, and also the way they do things, the how to, and not only the what to.
I will include that in my lessons. I'm delivering lectures in Peru on responsible use of data. And it's fantastic to introduce the people to the knowledge, it's not the knowledge, to the concept of working ethically in this world, because it's not usual. You think in medical doctors trying not to kill the patients, but you don't see people being killed by data, but their life affected for sure.
Yeah, and that's really important, because at the end of the day, your decisions are going to be driven by your values,
Yeah.
and having a common ground in terms of values between the full organization and each of the people on my team, it's a must, because at the end of the day, that is something that can help us to bring the culture, and the culture it's the strategy by in breakfast. So
Yeah.
that's really important for us.
Yeah, good. I will ask you a question that I think that you got it many times already. That is, today everyone is talking about artificial intelligence and the digital transformation, and it's everywhere in the universities, in the market. So how do you see this in the future, in your context, in the industry you are working?
I just heard some things that really look like exaggerated, about artificial intelligence, and when these kind of technologies that can really transform the world by better, sometimes this scares people, but
Mm,
scares people that don't really understand. The people that really understands the power of the technology and how can we use this don't see this as a threat. They see this as a very powerful tool, and it's a tool. And it's a very powerful tool that can help us to bring disruption and new ideas to old school industries. For example, in our case, the food industry is an industry that has had little innovation during the past 50 years. And most of the innovation came to produce food in a cheaper way. So efficiency and agility the key pillars, were the key pillars for the innovation strategy in the food industry. We don't see that as the biggest strategy pillar for the food industry. We really understand that the current food industry is very intensive in terms of use of the earth resources. And we really understand that by using technology to take out the animal from the equation, we really can transform the industry. And why technology? Technology, because by using technology, we can amplify the scope. For example, today the food industry uses no more than 1,000 ingredients, plant ingredients for the industry in general. No, I'm talking as a general concept. And by putting technology, our Giuseppe, which is our algorithm, to really use our database, we can intercept more than 5,000 ingredients.
Wow.
But the full biodiversity, the full landscape of plants is more than 20,000 ingredients. So we are using a little space of the full scope that we can use. And the tool to do that is technology. And the technology that we need to use is artificial intelligence. So artificial intelligence is a very powerful tool that can help us to accelerate the transformation we want to execute in most of the industries that really need this.
Wow, that's wow. Yesterday I was reading about responsible consumption, like being a good consumer. And when it comes to what you buy to eat, what you mentioned, it's fantastic because if you can change the ingredients, have increment your base of ingredients for your recipe, you can have more healthier, more diverse, change the market, change the economy of the producers. It has a potential that is amazing.
Yeah, the potential is really huge, and this is just starting because artificial intelligence is something that was discovered and was being used many years ago. Our company started as an artificial intelligence company to transform the food industry, and we've been here for 7 years. So this is not new for us. This is new for the massive media, and that is a good news also because by putting this in the massive media will help us to see this as something positive and not to be afraid of, and also will help this to allocate more resources in terms of investigation, in terms of trials. I mean, this will for sure accelerate the innovation path, and the development path that this technology can have for several industries.
And I think you mentioned innovation and disruption. I think that what you say is that by applying artificial intelligence to the food industry, you move from some incremental innovation that you are having now to more a true disruptive one.
Exactly. This is a very disruptive technology, but can bring disruptive innovation, but also not so disruptive innovation. Can also help to accelerate the typical innovation path. I think that this technology can help in both ways. To bring disruptive innovation, for sure, this is our main priority for our categories in the food industry, but can also help big corporations to not only to bring disruptive innovation, because they usually don't bring disruptive innovation, but can really help to accelerate the current innovation path.
Yeah, super. And I have one last question, and I'm really enjoying this conversation. So, what do you think about the conversions between data analytics and another areas of science and economy? How do you see these conversions?
As mentioned, I see the conversion into putting technology to current processes.
Mhm.
And by doing that, you can improve the process. So maybe there is not going to be a new process, but there's going to be a process that you currently run with humans. But by using technology, you can increase the accuracy, you can
Mhm.
increase the time, place that it takes to bring additional innovation, and also to discover new ideas to bring to the market. I think that this can work in those three pillars.
Super. Thank you. And thank you for sharing your ideas. Thank you, Federico, for joining me today. And please visit the cdomagazine.tech for additional interviews.
Thank you. Bye bye.